hounded by hatred and trapped by fear. I'm in a box. I've got no place to go. If I follow my mind, I know I slaughter my own. Help me, I'm the prisoner. Won't you hear my plea? I need somebody, yeah, to listen to me. I beg you, brothers and sisters, I'm counting on you, yeah. Black babies in the womb, shackled and bound, chained by the caveman, keeps beauty down. Smacked on the ass when they're squalling and wet. Heir to a spineless man who never forgets, never forgets that he's a prisoner. Can't you hear my plea? 'Cause I need.
Welcome, peace and love. Welcome to the NEPPC podcast or the MEPPC show. You know, whatever your preference is, you know, that's what we claim to be. And this is the work that we profess to doing. My name is Brother Frank, and I'm a former political prisoner.
Abdul Hawkins Lamb.
Today, so welcome to our platform. Our platform was exclusive to political prisoners, making sure that they have a voice, making sure that they have an opportunity, a chance to come home. The only way we see that being possible is by committing ourselves to the work, to organize, to bring them home, to letting those who are taxpayers know the power that they have as it relates to what's happening in our world, in the world where those who are in power use our resources to have a prison industrial complex system. Today's episode, we focus on Fred Muhammad Burton. Fred Muhammad Burton was born December 15th, 1945. He is a political prisoner. He is one of many U.S. held political prisoners. He is doing an extended amount of time. He has done extended amount of time. To be specific, he's done over 51 years. So we're going to talk about him, why we need to talk about him, and why it's important to talk about him. So Fred Muhammad Burton, excuse me. You know, when I think of Fred Hampton automatically, you know, because that brother did so much work. But this brother right here was part of that level of commitment. He was part of the Black Unity Council. And this organization came into being in the late 60s, early 70s. This was a time of the Black Panther Party movement. They were in Philly. They were organized around Black politics. And if you know what that means, it is the right of people of African descent to self-determination. And we realized that there are certain attacks on Black people that undermine that right to self-determination, police brutality, us not controlling who teaches our children, and a number of issues, right? The issues that the Black Unity Council was dealing with is the same issues that the Black Panther Party was dealing with, was fighting, was organizing for. So let's talk about that. Let's decide what we're going to do regarding our brother being incarcerated, and make it most important to talk about him and not forget about who he is. So, Brother Abdul Haq Islam.
Peace and love. I want to start out reminding people that at the time of the alleged offense by Brother Fred Muhammad Burton, at that time in Philly, there was a whole lot of police brutality, police murders under the fascist regime of Frank Rizzo. The police was running wild, terrorizing the people. And, this is not surprising in the context of a nation and a system that is based on violence and genocide. When we think about cases such as Fred Muhammad Burton, we must remember the context in which we live. Right now, they're murdering, America is intentionally murdering babies in Palestine, So any system that is engaged in behavior such as that, we cannot trust what it says. We cannot believe in a system like this and its claim for justice. We have to realize that all that is just counterfeit. The case against Fred Muhammad Burton is solely based on some voices that one witness in the case, Marie Williams, claims she heard some voices from the basement, So the whole case is based on somebody hearing some voices. She said she heard somebody say, "Let's off some pigs." She don't know who made the statement. Later in a letter, she wrote that her handwriting was analyzed and verified by handwriting expert, saying that she didn't know if Fred Burton Muhammad was attended that meeting or it was his voice that somebody said, "Let's off some pigs." It came out that he came up with some exculpatory evidence that she had had a immunity hearing, in which she was forced to testify by the police. She testified to save her husband from a death penalty conviction, and she admitted that she lied, So these are very, very powerful promptings, for the brother to have a retrial. They took all the blacks off the jury, so it's not surprising that an all-white, that a racist jury, would find some voices somebody heard, not knowing who the voices was, would find that as compelling, powerful, convincing, reliable evidence. Over and over and over again in this system, there's a history of these type of juries, just believing any lie. As long as a black person can be convicted. The brother's been down 51 years, and we need to be raising our voices loud. Our voices need to sound like thunder, to get the freedom of this brother, the brother has been involved in organizing while in prison, organizing for the people, for the rights, for racial justice, for religious justice, he's been very, very active, and that, and this is the type of activity we need, in the free world. So, we call on our people, don't just sit back, and be quiet and, and just ho hum and, let those things go on as they is, because without the pressure of the people, the pressure of the people does have consequences, Mumia Abu Jamal, in his case, he would be dead right now if it wasn't for the uprising of the people. So our political prisoners are very, very precious to our nation. They are like gold and diamonds to us, and we must claim this wealth and claim this intelligence and these organizing skills and use our voices to demand their freedom.
Absolutely. So the address to write Fred Muhammad Burton is Smart Communications, PA/DOC. That's Burton Fred Muhammad, AF3896 SCI Somerset. That's MOMERSET. Post Office Box 33028, St. Petersburg, Florida 33733. And as we mentioned, Florida, our heart goes out to those who are going through a rough time because of Hurricane Milton. Please keep in contact with your loved ones. Make sure you pay attention to the internet as well as the radio, so you know what to do in terms of where you need to be during this unfortunate situation. But like all things happen, they come to pass. So this will come to pass. Those who are going through it, just be strong and be with one another. And just like our political prisoners are and were, right? While they were not in prison, when they were organizing because they understood the seriousness of what's happening at the time, they knew that they had to rely on each other. That is the strongest expression of a community, is that they rely on each other, especially when a tragedy happens, right? So Fred Muhammad Burton was fighting back. He was organized. He was with the Black Unity Council. They were standing up. They were taking a position. So it's only right that you see what's going on, and they merged with the Black Panther Party, and they had a clear political outlook, and they understood the role of the state, and they understood the role that they had as being conscious, right? Because to be conscious and be inactive, you're just engaging in entertainment. But to be conscious and be active is actually to do what you are supposed to be doing when you truly are conscious, because that is the sharpest and that's the highest level of consciousness, is to actually carry out the ideas that you know are correct, the ideas that are very clear. So the Black Panther Party did that. The Black Unity Council did that as they emerged with the Black Panther Party, and even before they emerged with the Black Panther Party. And we got to look at what's going on during this time, the late 60s, the early 70s. You're looking at Black people dealing with the police in a manner in which the police are dealing with the community viciously, and we are fighting because we know that if we don't fight, then the conditions will not get better, right? Conditions don't get better on their own. They get better because people stood up and fought back. So that directly relates to the idea of political prisoners. Political prisoners don't come home on their own. They come home through struggle, right? Sundi Akoli was denied parole, and he was in prison for all these years. They actually had to go to court to get him parole. So just to let you know that that's what it takes for our political prisoners come home, because the state does not want to let them home. They want them to actually die in prison. They want us to be discouraged from emulating their example of bravery. They don't want us to even think that those particular tactics and us organizing and being as serious about organizing as our political prisoners are something that we should even consider taking up. And we have to be honest with ourselves, because a liberal position is an ineffective position, because you allowing the system or the arrangement of things to continue to be the way it is, because you're not doing things at the level that needs to be done for things to change in terms of quality, right? We want that quality of life that is just due to us, because we are working class, and without our labor, you can't produce anything. You can't have anything in society, let alone society functioning, period. So with this concept being very clear, and we looking at our political prisoners, and we looking at our political prisoners having engaging in political education and understanding what they need to do with that material, because they know that during their time, they have but so much time to do what needs to be done. There's another generation coming after. And one of the things that we, the Northeast Political Prisoner Coalition, strives to do is to utilize our platform to advocate for political prisoners to come home, letting the community know that we are amongst the community. Like, for instance, this coming Friday, if you happen to live in South Jamaica, Queens, or even any of the 5 boroughs, you can participate in the Think Big Chess Academy. That's going to be at the South Jamaica Community Center. If you have any trouble finding it, contact me at 347-679-3936. Again, that's 347-679-3936, because we have to engage the community, just as Fred Muhammad Burton did. He engaged the community. He was amongst them. He understood their concerns. He understood what he had to do in terms of doing something for them, or rather with them, right? Because the community must be with us as we're putting up this fight, because you can't tell us what's going on in your community and then you home just relaxing, watching TV, doing something other than what you need to be doing with your time. Because that is the responsibility of everyone's, is to fight for what they know is right, to make sure that they are fulfilling their duties, their roles, and to do it as long and as often as they can, always challenging themselves to do even more. And that is one of the things that I admired about Fred Muhammad Burton, is that while he's dealing with this incarceration, he is still organizing. He is utilizing his talents where he's at to move people forward. That's commendable. He's not somewhere solvent in his pities. So brother Abdul Haq Islam, right? You know, as we did research in preparation of this particular podcast episode, what stood out most to you regarding the brother Fred Muhammad Burton?
The exculpatory evidence that he discovered, through his research, that the court refused even hear. Out in the street we hear them say, "I don't even want to hear." The court would even hear the fact that the witness was forced to testify. That original statement, saying that the brother Fred was innocent, in a letter that handwriting experts say was in her handwriting, saying that he was not, that she had no knowledge of her being in a meeting, or her knowing who it was, voices she heard, some voices in the air, not placing him at the scene, not no knowledge of him being at the scene of the crime. The court wouldn't even hear that. So people who love justice, must feel this, must be moved by this, and demand justice in this case, because without some noise coming from the people, without some pressure coming from the people, this system will do anything. Like I said earlier, right now this system is murdering babies, in Gaza, in Palestine, and because of this, they're having a very, very difficult time recruiting soldiers to go somewhere and participate in genocide. So, that's an effect of their own behavior, So we must respond to their behavior, in a way that righteous, worthy human beings will respond. We must respond by demanding justice and know that the voice of the people, is very, very effective as a weapon, to bring about justice. But it ain't gonna come, depending on the whims and the wiles of a genocidal system. It's up to us, and we can bring this brother home. This brother deserves to come home. Been down 51 years, 11 of them years in solitary confinement, because of his organizing, and because of who he is, and we treasure who he is. This is a treasure for our people, a brother who loves the people, who works for the people, so we must show our love by standing up and bringing his brother home.
Exactly. So when we say we love and respect our heroes, it's one of two positions to take. We either are sympathetic or we have solidarity with them. Now, if we sympathetic, we'll say, "Oh yes, I like this person. Yes, yes, I respect." It's just become words that just come out of our mouths without any intention of doing more than just that. Saying something that sounds good, saying something that makes us feel good. Now, solidarity, on the other hand, is to do a whole lot more, to take actual action, right? To write a letter to the brother, to actually find out when his next parole board hearing is happening, to do your own research on his case and find out who is involved in his campaign to bring him home. So you're doing more work because you're driven by that. You understood what it means to love and respect somebody. That is the sharpest, that is the most realistic expression of respect, is actually take some action towards the person or towards the idea of dealing with that concept of respect. And we have to challenge ourselves to do more, right? Because we're saying one thing, but our actions are showing another. And we got to challenge those who are claiming to respect somebody or something. What are you doing if you truly respect that person or that thing? If is that idea very clear to you, then you know that you have to actually do some work, and we all can do something. Like you hear me say, if you're an artist, do a picture on political prisoners. If you're an organizer of people, organize around political prisoners, right? If you need our contact us at 347-679-3936. Again, that's 347-679-3936, or email us at sefusankofa@gmail. That's SEFUSANKOFA. Let's come together. Let's organize. Let's free U.S. held political prisoners. We got the power to do so. In fact, we got a responsibility to do so. So for those of you who do not know actually what a political prisoner is, this is why I have it on display right now. Political prisoners are people jailed on charges related to their resistance to oppression and repression, and targeted by the state for their political beliefs and or actions. And that's very important that we repeat that line to ourselves, because these politics are people politics. They are politics that are beneficial to the advancement of the working class. These are politics that protect the self-determination right of people of African descent, Black people. And we got to understand the importance of our political prisoners. The fact that, everybody doesn't fight the same regarding their approach or their relationship to dealing with the system. Some of us are more committed. Some of us are more driven. Political prisoners are indeed more committed, are indeed more driven, because they understood what was at stake, and yet and still they were not in denial of their work. They did not vacillate off their work. They took a definitive position regarding their work and decided that it was going to be done because nobody but them would do it. And this is why we have to have a tremendous respect for our political prisoners, because they teach us what we need to learn regarding how important and how powerful and how, in fact, how dangerous it is to fight against a vicious system as the system that is intact currently, right? The system that has a long history of making people um, stay where they want them to stay. And those who are fighting back, dealing with them accordingly, trading prisoners, creating political prisoners to be specific, and creating martyrs, right? And if that doesn't work, then they come up with something else. And we have to look at the history of our oppressor and decide, how we're going to deal with that oppression. How are we going to relate to this situation? Because obviously we have to do something, because the children, they need a better tomorrow, and only we can give them a better tomorrow. But that has to be struggled for. That has to be educated to uh, be obtained, meaning that your library has to be on top of things, and we can't ignore our political prisoners, because when I Googled or when I went on YouTube to see if there was any information on Fred Muhammad Burton, all I seen was our podcast Up and Coming. So we should scratch our heads. We should ask ourselves, why is it that no more of us, or as not as many of us, are talking about Fred Muhammad Burton? And let's get to the bottom of it. Let's make that an issue that becomes an issue of the past, because it's being dealt with, so we could proceed to other issues. But it's very important that we look at our political prisoners and make that decision to right them. So I'm currently waiting for Ronald Reed to return my letter. After that, I'll be writing to another political prisoner. I'm thinking about Fred Muhammad Burton. In fact, I'm going to write Fred Muhammad Burton tomorrow. That's going to be on my to-do list.
We'll try to get some words from him to share with y'all out there in the audience.
Right, because that's what we need to do. We need to have our political prisoners engaged in this platform, in this discussion about freeing them. Because once that happens, then our work becomes more authentic. We have a certain level of credibility, and the political prisoner continues to have a voice, continue to win people over to their situation, and people who are willing to do something to bring them home and not let them die in prison. Because that is a slap in our face to see our political prisoners die in prison. That's saying that we didn't have the courage, we didn't have the stamina, we didn't have the creativity to bring them home. One of the things that we do when we are being creative is establishing a clear definition of what's what and who is who. For instance, when we talk about the prison, we talk about the prison industrial complex system, because we know that that is profit driven, that is driven by the ideas of capitalists, saying that they had a right to make profit on any and every situation, regardless of the intensity of the misery, that they had a right to make a profit over that. So if you oppose that idea, then you will be on the side of those who are fighting back. And another concept is, what is a political prisoner? We just gave you the definition. We want to be clear on what a political prisoner is, so that when the state says that there are no political prisoners in the United States, that means that the state is saying that the politics of the United States are nothing, are politics that those who are living in the United States are okay with. That there are no people or group of people who are saying that they have a problem with their politics, and they're willing to go as far as they can to confront it. Political prisoners are captured freedom fighters. They're not criminals. They're not terrorists. We define who is what and why, right? Our political prisoners understand our relationship to power, and they understand the importance of power. Power dictates what you will have and not have, and they understand there are certain things that we as people need to be in control of. Food, clothing, and shelter are most important. So, Brother Abdul Haq, Islam, how should the people relate to political prisoners, and why is it important that they're clear on their relationship to political prisoners?
Political prisoners are heroes, they're brothers and sisters, who fought for us, who are put our interests above their own, you know. And so I say, hitchhiking on something that Frank said that they need to be more well known. You know, a problem with the brothers like Fred Muhammad Burt is that his name is not as well known as some of the others. You know, and we can see, nobody is in more trouble than somebody who got to depend on 12 racist Americans to look at some evidence and see what it and to say what it means. You know, you in big trouble if you got to depend on that, and they get away with that if they can sneak around like little mice. You understand? That pretending that they're about justice, but rule against justice at each and every turn. And so it's through knowing the different cases, knowing the people, knowing the people like we knew Mumia Abu Jamal, like we knew the name Angela Davis, by raising it up, by talking about it, students studying it, when you study in your different classes on different topics, one of the things that needs to be much knowledge on is our political prisoners. When we make our studies on what's happening in America, civics and all that type of stuff, what is happening with them, knowing their names, putting their names out there, which creates the atmosphere, you understand, and the thunder, the lightning, and the pressure on the system to actually do the justice that it claims it's about. It likes to pretend it's about justice, but when it's forced to do some justice, then it acts, and pretends that that's what it's really all about, So, let's, raise our power, raise our black power, raise that intense, the beauty within us, you understand, to bring about justice and to bring about right, you understand, by putting political pressure on the system, free our political prisoners.
Absolutely. So right now we are giving you a name of a number of political prisoners because Fred Muhammad Burton, we dedicate this show to him. We encourage you to learn more about him, to find out the exact address. For those of you who did not get an opportunity to actually write it down, and I take criticism on that too, because I should have had the address displayed. Please forgive me, part of my discretion. The address is Smart Communications PA /DOC Burton, Fred Muhammad, AF 3896 SCI, Somerset, Post Office Box 33028, St. Petersburg, Florida 33733. So we have to be very clear about who Fred is in terms of how we relate to him. He is one of us, and we are one of him. Meaning that we one and the same. We are struggling and fighting and very serious about our self-determination, our right to control our own destiny. So we're going to end this episode the way we always do. What's the call?
Free them all.
What's the call?
Free them all.
What's the call?
Free them all.